guys, welcome back to Beauty Talk. So today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to do gradient editorial eyes. It's really gorgeous. I really love this technique, and I'm going to be doing this demo with the Colourpop Malibu Barbie palette. I've been really loving this palette. It's amazing, and there's so much you can do with these colors. There's so much you can do with this color story. I'm actually really impressed. Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know, if you want to shop for makeup, skincare, or any beauty tools, go on hyperrealpro.com. You can also book your microblading through hyperrealpro.com. And if you want to learn anything about permanent makeup, make 6 figures doing permanent makeup using the best technology in permanent makeup in the world, go ahead and go on hyperrealacademy.com. We do offer scholarships. I do really recommend that you guys take advantage of this brand new technology. It could really launch your career. You can make a lot of money, and you're gonna have the freedom to travel wherever you want because the licenses that we issue are recognized internationally. So that's it. All right, so I'm just gonna go right into today's demo. So I'm just gonna start off with my eye primer. Now we're gonna be using our Anastasia eye primer. This one, I'm just gonna apply. And don't be afraid to do a thicker layer of the primer. If you guys saw my last video for the Malibu Barbie palette, which should include this look actually. If you guys saw that video, then you can see in one of my other demos with the blue inner corner. And what I did was I layered this primer, concentrating the primer into the middle of the inner corner. And that's what made the color really jump out. And don't be afraid to kind of layer this one. You can layer this primer. I think it's a really good idea. When you have a thick primer that's also light in color, it's really good to kind of layer it depending on how you want to do your look. Now I want my entire lid to be well primed because I'm not going to concentrate this color into a portion of the lid. I want this entire lid to be fully saturated with the color. Also blend some of this product into the lower lash line area because we're also going to be doing some color along the lower lash line. So I'm going to start with the yellow one right here, and then I'm going to transition that into the orange. And we're going to just do 2 colors for this gradient. I kind of want to start this a little bit simpler, but you can do as many colors as you want per gradient. You can do you can do 2 colors, you can do 3, 4, 5 colors. You can do a whole rainbow, you know. That's actually one of my favorite looks is the rainbow eye, which I can teach you guys how to do. But let's keep it simple for now. We're gonna go ahead and go into West Coast, and we're just gonna drop that right over. Now, if you think your color is not bright enough, you can always use a white base. I prefer having a lighter but not white base. Now this yellow is not too bright. It actually has a lot of orange in its base color, so it's gonna blend really well with the orange, and I'm just gonna extend it to the middle of the lid, and that's where I'm just gonna leave it. It's a very nice, pretty sunshine yellow. I love it. I've been really digging this palette, you guys. I actually wasn't expecting to be this happy with the palette. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the color story, but you know, this palette really exceeded my expectations. After that, I'm just gonna go into the orange color, and let me just show you real quick the orange color right here. I'm just gonna drop that starting from the outer corner where most of the color is gonna go. I'm just gonna blend this inward towards that yellow that I just laid down earlier, and you kind of blend it together. And the orange is going on real strong compared to when I used this palette before. When I didn't use this primer, when I used something more close to my skin tone, the color won't be as bright. It'll be just a little darker as it blends in with the color of my skin. Ooh, look like a little sunset. I love it. Would I be insane if I threw a purple highlight in the inner corner? Because then it'll look like a sunset. I love that. So when we're gonna do this kind of cutout look, what I would recommend is that you get your color a little bit further than what you think looks good. Because the reason why is because we're aiming for a cutout shape. So you don't want the color to feather out before your cutout is done, you know? You don't want the color to completely feather out and disappear right where your edge is supposed to be. You want to get that edge to be just as bold as the color in the middle. So for that reason, you're gonna have to extend your color out past where you think it looks good. I'm just gonna brush away the fallout, see what happens. My hair is super wet. I don't know, do you guys do makeup before or after you do your hair? I always, if I'm going somewhere where I have my hair done, I always do my hair before the makeup. But a lot of times, if I'm just straightening my hair, I would just do the makeup beforehand. So now I'm going to extend this shape into somewhat of a wing. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna clean it up in just a second. And again, we're extending the color past what we think we're gonna need. Brush away the extra, brush away the fallout, of course. And we're just gonna repeat it on the other side. And now this is where you wanna pay attention not to make your gradient too asymmetrical between your left and right. So if you think that you're gonna stop the orange right before the center of your lid, you wanna make sure you do that for both eyes, and you wanna make sure that your colors are kind of, the gradient looks pretty even from the left to the right. Nothing is too blended to the left, nothing is too blended to the right. Everything kind of looks the same from one side to another. That's how you get a really nice, professional looking makeup look. And again, make sure that the wing somewhat mirrors that of your right eye, or your left one, whichever one you did first. Just make sure we're matching energies here. So that way the end result is gonna look even. I'm just gonna take a small brush and I'm gonna blend this middle kind of like purplish shade into the inner corner, see if it looks good. It looks kind of nice actually. I'd prefer something a little bit more purple almost. So I'm gonna go into my Moonchild palette. Remember this one? It's not that old. And I'm just gonna take the purple shade called Purple Horseshoe. And I'm just gonna, oh shit, there's no mirror. All right, there's no mirror. I'm gonna have to balance this on my leg. And I'm just gonna dip a little bit of that purple highlight into the inner corner. So now we have a bit of a subtle purple effect going on in the inner corner. Nothing too blended out because I don't want it to distract from the yellow and orange. So I'm ready to do the shaping portion of this look. And you can, I mean, there's multiple ways to do this. Let me just thoroughly clean up the fallout. So there's multiple ways you can do this. You can do it with, my recommendation would be a lip brush. For this kind of look, it'll be really good. Or you can use an angled brush. Either of these work, really. It just depends on, honestly, it just depends on how you like to physically draw your shapes. For me, I always figure that this works just a little bit better, so this is what I'm gonna use. And I'm gonna be using my Hourglass Vanish Concealer. I love this, so good. It's actually one of my first times using it. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of that on the back of my hand. And I love using liquid concealers for this technique because liquid concealers, they set pretty well. They're not creamy after they're applied. And that's really important when you want to carve out an eyeshadow shape. You don't want it to set. You don't want it to continue to be creamy, especially over something like your eyelid where you're gonna be blinking and So you want something that's a little bit more sturdy. When it sets, it's more solid. So I'm just gonna, I feel like I'm just like delaying this because I'm kind of nervous. I'm just gonna start tracing. Using the edge of my brush, I'm going to trace a wing shape. Now you don't wanna get your wing too far down into your color because remember, you're cleaning up the edges. You're not trying to make anything, like you're just cleaning up the edge, you're just taking away the edge. You don't want to take away too much of the meat, if you will. So don't get too much of that negative space in there, especially with concealer over bright colors. You really want to use as little product as possible And you always want to continuously wipe on the back of your hand to make sure that your color is not going to get muddy, your concealer looks like concealer, and there's no color product getting into your concealer product. That's what makes it look clean. And doing your cuts in one clean motion will somewhat eliminate the chances of your colors getting muddy. And I need to reiterate how important it is to get a good color match for your concealer. If you're gonna do looks like this, you really need a good color match. And you need to have a brush that's relatively new, nothing too frayed. You need to have a synthetic brush with a very, very sharp and clean flat edge for this kind of look. And honestly, even if you mess up here and there, you can always go back into your palette and kind of fix it. Not that big of a deal. If anything, it's makeup, it'll just wash off. I'm one of those makeup artists that don't really get too twisted about having everything be super clean, because realistically in the industry, you get a ton of people helping you post-production. You get a ton of retouchers. Somehow I feel like having some kind of evidence that this thing was done by a pair of human hands, it really makes it a lot more exciting to look at. I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just making excuses for my own shaky ass hands and my unwillingness to clean everything to perfection, who knows. And what you can do is you can actually take that same concealer and just kind of, I kind of like it like this actually. Anyway, I'm just gonna take this concealer edge and just clean that baby up. I think you got maybe like 1 or 2 tries to get the exact angle that you want. And then just take a brush, a concealer brush, and then you just blend out the edges only. Do not touch this blender brush to any color at all. You see? That was easy. Oh, here comes the hard part, doing the same on the other eye. Oh goodness, okay. Let's see, I mean, I don't know, just do the same thing and say a little prayer. I get most excited about the editorial looks that are different from the left one to the right one. I love the asymmetrical editorial looks because then I can do something completely different on each eye and I don't have to care about having them match. I love that. That's one of the reasons why I love editorial makeup, because you really don't have to give a shit about matching energies. But you know, if you want to do something like this, I think it's easier to make it look the same when you're working on somebody else, because then you're not just laser focused on one eye at a time. But when you're doing it on yourself, you kind of have to be laser focused on one eye at a time, and there's no way to kind of just like peripheral vision check both to make sure that they're even. That's why I think it's kind of hard. And if you got shaky hands, it makes it even more difficult. And just remember to kind of blend as you go, so you're not completely working with caked up concealer. You always want to blend out as much as you can. And another trick that I recommend is to always use, it's pretty even, is to always use fresh, wet concealer. Using the liquid is what's gonna give you the cleanest possible line. And using kind of like dried up creamy concealer, it's not gonna, there's gonna be more resistance, which will give you less clean of a line. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of black liner, and that's just to blend my fake lashes with the rest of my eye. I always like to put a little bit of black at the corner, and that always lifts up the eyes a little bit towards the corner. It gives that kind of like pointed shape. It's one of my favorite super subtle makeup artist tricks. That's actually not a bad trick to correct asymmetry. When one eye is a little bit bigger than another, you can kind of line the corner a little bit to kind of open the corner up a little bit, because it's usually the corner that's not the same from one eye to the other. But at the end of the day, I guarantee for you, nobody except for you is gonna notice. That's why you're probably gonna be your own best makeup artist. Nobody's gonna know your face shape quite the same way that you know your face shape. So because we did so much with our top lid, I do want to add a little bit of definition to the lower lash line, but I don't want it to be prominent because I want the look to feel very fresh. So I don't want there to be heavy color underneath. I'm just gonna use this medium brown shade right here, this sand brown shade, and it's only slightly darker than my skin tone. So I'm just gonna drop that right underneath the lower lash line. And that's just gonna cast enough shadow for this look to feel a lot more balanced just by casting that little tiny bit of shadow. And I see some of the yellows already coming down to my lower lash line area. And when you have hooded eyes or like monolids, it just kind of happens a lot more. And once your lashes are on, I would suggest blending the lash band into that inner corner as well. And we're gonna do a swipe of mascara on our lower lashes. So this is the Hourglass Instant Extensions mascara. I love this mascara. It does seem like it is instant extensions. I only use mascara for the lower lash line, and you know, it's really helping. So I would definitely want to do a contour and maybe a warm blush. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into my Hourglass palette and I'm gonna do a contour using the bronze shade all the way to the right. And I think I can get away with a warmer contour because this is such a warm look. And I'm just gonna generally sweep this over that contour area. Oh, this brush sheds like a mofo. Okay. And I'm gonna do a bit of blush right over that contour into the cheek area. I'm not gonna go too heavy-handed on the blush because I want it to be more contour focused. I want the contour to be sharp to match the sharpness of the eyes. And one of the quickest ways to sharpen a contour is to take a concealer. I'm just gonna be using my Hourglass Vanish Stick. I'm just gonna get a little bit of that color onto my concealer brush and I'm just gonna carve it. Now this is where you really gotta have a good color match. Even though I'm cutting a really sharp line into my contour, it doesn't even look that unnatural because it's such a good color match, and also my contour is not too heavy. You could even leave it like this and it would be a look. If you want it to look more natural, blend the edge only with a concealer brush. Always go from the bottom to the top in this sweeping motion. That will give you a lifted effect, and now you've got yourself a clean contour. Very clean contour. So now you got yourself a very chiseled look to match a very clean eye look, and I think it's a look. Oh. So I'm gonna finish off this look with my Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in Bitch Perfect. This is a really beautiful nude shade, works with everything. And just focus on softening the Cupid's bow as well as right underneath the lower portion, the lowest dip of the bottom lip. And that's what makes your lips kind of pop out a little bit more, makes them a little bigger. So that's it. This is the look. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this week's Beauty Talk. Let me know in the comments below anything you want to comment. Tell me your favorite summertime looks. Make sure to leave a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell for notifications. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!